Welcome back, everyone. Today we'll be discussing the Yeezy 350 Zebra once again. Shout out to those of you who watched the prior How to Cop 3 years ago, or even the real OGs who saw the very first one I made 4 years ago. Crazy how time flies just like that. But specifically today, we'll be discussing some release info, how to cop, and of course, some resale predictions at the end of the video, as always. The Yeezy 350 Zebra releases on April 9th. Retail will be $230 like all recent 350s, and since this is an Adidas product and not Nike, I cannot confirm the precise stock myself, but based off of what corporate retailers are getting these, it's pretty safe to say that there will be rather healthy stock on this general release Yeezy, just as we saw on other recent 350s. Regarding resale, we will cover that towards the end of the video as always, but with the release info out of the way, let's jump into how to cop these Yeezy 350 Zebras. As usual, we will be going in chronological order of the sites that are going to be releasing these, along with how to properly manage your time with maximum efficiency, since a lot will be going on at once. Make sure to follow my Twitter, KeithAdam10, and personals for you for any urgent updates on these, such as when Finish Line and JD decide to do their exclusive access, which should be relatively soon. We'll go over that soon. Also, please ensure that you do not forget to sign up for the Adidas confirmed app raffle for these, as the most stock is allocated to here by a significant amount. Additionally, you can increase your chances of winning these by entering in more accounts. Similar to Nike, Adidas does require SMS verification, so you will have to use a friend's phone number and ask them for the verification code, just as you would for Nike. Currently, TARS is out of stock of these pre-verified accounts, but I will let you guys know when we are back in stock. But anyway, in addition to Adidas confirmed, make sure you also enter the Flex app reservation raffles. This is of course one of the best ways to get pairs as well as asking your local foot stores about their procedure for leftover pairs. And lastly, before first come first serve sites, as I alluded to earlier, Finish Line and JD should be doing exclusive status access sometime soon, potentially even tomorrow for in-store, and then a little later for the online. Despite them not being on the calendars, they did announce via Instagram that they will be dropping both through status access as well as a first come first serve drop on the release date too. So whenever this status access does go live, just log into your accounts and check the status section when the access is live. I will usually tweet this out. Moving on to first come first serve sites, we will now begin discussing them in chronological order. So kicking it off, since this is a Yeezy, you will have to be awake wide and early at 7 a.m. Eastern time. Why did they do this? I have no idea. First, I would suggest going for Hibbett, since the other drops we'll discuss at 7 a.m. are less time sensitive, where Hibbett is really most dependent on your speed. This is what I've been suggesting recently for first come first serve, and it's been going well, so we won't change it just yet. You might get the press and hold capsule loop, so just some tips to prevent this loop or get out of it. Go to the coming soon page on the Hibbett calendar right before 7 a.m. Click the Yeezy men or grade school, whatever you choose. I'd suggest men, since there tends to be more stock on those. Then scroll down slowly until you see the sizes. If you scroll too quickly, you'll likely end up getting caught in that captcha loop. My biggest advice in general here, though, is to use Apple Pay on your mobile device for the most efficient checkout. Foot sites, Finish Line, JD Sports, and DSG will also all be dropping at this time as well. However, you do not need to pay attention to these at precisely 7 a.m. You can focus on the real first come first serve, which is Hibbett, and then focus on these afterwards. Make sure to set up the tabs for these sites beforehand, though. You should set them up as soon as my account or personals for you tweets out the links. This way, you're already ready to go and waiting in queue after Hibbett. By the way, foot sites have been recently. I would not suggest focusing on them at all, but it's up to you, of course. You can feel free to leave a few in queue. Try to focus more on the DSG queue, as I have been seeing a lot more manual success there recently. I'd say this is probably your best shot around this time, based off of the manual success we've seen on some recent drops, such as the Jordan 4. Finish Line and JD also has decent manual success as well, but make sure you only have one tab open for each of them. They are very sensitive websites, and they will IP ban you if you do have too many tabs open, contrary to DSG. Now, moving on to 8 a.m. Eastern time, we could potentially be seeing Undefeated drop, and potentially Packer as well, although I'd suggest focusing on Undefeated rather than Packer, since Undefeated does require accounts, and they do receive more stock in general anyway. Before this time, make sure you are logged into your Undefeated account, as it is required on this site to check out. Be ready to solve a checkpoint captcha as well. If you don't have access to a Shopify monitor, you could try refreshing the search page for Yeezy 350, but your chances of copying will be very slim, since still, it is Shopify at the end of the day. Regardless, it's worth a shot since there shouldn't be much going on at this time anyway, but recently they have been doing a couple of 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. drops, so if they do announce for 10 a.m., there's other drops you're going to want to focus on at 10 rather than here, but if it's at 8 a.m., might as well give it a shot. Then at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, we'll have the next highest stock place, aside from Adidas confirmed, and that would be Yeezy Supply. Right after 9 a.m. Eastern Time, usually around 9:02 to 9:04 a.m. Eastern Time, the sale for Yeezy Supply should go live. However, you should already set up for this in advance because the queue normally begins around 8:45 a.m. Eastern Time or so, which will give you more than sufficient time to set up all of your Chrome users. Since Yeezy Supply is a queue, you can feel free to set up all your Chrome users well in advance, as I just stated. You will see the screen change to the sale has started when it actually does begin, and for those who are wondering what I mean by Chrome users, it's super simple. Let me break it down real quick. So go to the top right corner of your screen in Google Chrome, click on your profile, then click on Add Person, add a random name and emblem, then click Done. Repeat this for as many Chrome users as you want. You can technically add as many as you want, but the best amount is relative to your personal computer, as it all depends on your CPU. If you have too many for your computer CPU to handle, then it'll be extremely laggy and inefficient, so you may have to play around a little bit just to find your happy medium. Also, to view all of them at the same time, just a quick tip, use the Windows and Tab button on Windows and the F3 button at the top of your keyboard on Mac to view all of them at the same time. It is also suggested that you only have a maximum of about 10 users per IP address, so you could split 10 on your Wi-Fi, another 10 on another device connected to a hotspot, for example, or you could use a proxy switcher free extension, which I would suggest too, and if you buy residential proxies, then might as well add a unique proxy for every single Chrome user, since with residential proxies, you could generate an unlimited amount anyway. Now, equally as important, make sure to also sign into an active Gmail account on each of your Chrome users. Try not to log into the same account too many times, but it'll have to be one of yours that is relatively active. This will make passing queue much more efficient. Just Google my Gmail V3 score to see how close your Gmails are to a 0.9. The closer, the better. Now, moving on to 10 a.m. Eastern Time, the sites we'll be seeing drop will all be Shopify, aside from Snipes and also Nordstrom. For your first come, first serve sites of choice, your best shop might be Shop Nice Kicks or Shoe Palace, since they do tend to get very high stock, but beware of the very high shipping here at $27. That will of course hurt your margin. Aside from here, you could also try Kith, or if Jimmy Jazz loads them sometime soon. I wouldn't waste too much time on Shopify though, just because in general on Shopify manually, you're going to have a very slim chance of copying. You could also choose to focus on Nordstrom at 10 a.m., which you'll have a better shot at, but the two things to note here are they often do drop late by a minute or two, so that's why I suggest maybe you want to try Shopify first, then Nordstrom after, since usually they drop around 10:01 or 10:02, and on top of that, the cancel rate here is also quite high, but of course, the choice is yours. Also, at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, Snipes will be dropping too, but Snipes does a queue release, so no need to focus on here at exactly 10 a.m., unless you are in Endurance or Gargantua AIO, because we will be sending bypass links through there, but assuming you're just going regular manual here without the bypass links, then of course you don't need to focus on here right away, since it is a queue and you could just wait in queue to pass. Then at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, we should be seeing Dover Street Market New York E-Flash drop. This site is pretty much near impossible to hit manually, especially because they do not consistently even use a checkpoint or proxy protection. Regardless though, there shouldn't be much else going on at 11 a.m., so you can feel free to give it a shot. Now, as for the Europe retailers, unfortunately for this date, there are none. Hopefully they do get pairs sometime in the near future, and I'll keep you guys updated for that, but as of now, with the Hatted Cop out of the way, let's move on to the resale predictions for these. Again, since this is not a Nike product, I do not have the precise stock. However, I do expect relatively high stock, since almost all corporate retailers are receiving these, just like other recent general release Yeezy 350s. On top of that, we also already have a ton of pairs in circulation from the numerous prior releases that we've seen. Now, as for demand, however, there is absolutely immense demand on these, just like there has been on the prior releases for these. Sale volume is already very impressive despite being 3 days out from the drop, and the bids are relatively impressive too for a Yeezy 350. This should be no surprise, as this has been a very well-liked Yeezy colorway since they first came out in 2017, and since there are so many in circulation already, pre-sale isn't as high as you might expect for these, but regardless, there should still be sufficient room for profitability with a good margin when they do end up dropping, especially in the larger sizes. And as usual, I will be putting out a seller hold video with more precise resale predictions the night before the drop. I'll personally be going full throttle on these, at least as of now. Let me know what you guys are planning to do though. Anyway, that'll conclude it for today. Feel free to leave a like if you've enjoyed, or perhaps if you learned a thing or two, subscribe and enable post notifications. This way you stay 100% updated on all hyped releases. Also, feel free to check out the links in the description below for reliable, fast, residential proxies and pre-verified Nike sneakers or Adidas accounts. Also, follow Endurance's Twitter for updates on restocks or key giveaways, and the same goes for Gargantua if you want to keep up the progress or restocks. Last but not least, make sure to follow Keith Adam 10 and Personals for you. This way, you guys stay updated on all urgent info like I was discussing today. With that though, I will see you guys later. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and of course, good luck on the release.